All right. Great win this weekend. Going on the road in this conference is really hard. I thought Tulsa was a really good football team. 2-6, but you lost to Navy, you lost to East Carolina, you lost to Memphis. They had Tulane. They had a pretty tough road. I thought Coach Lamb did a phenomenal job having those kids believe that beating Temple is going to get them back on track. And boy, they played hard. And they're really good. They're really talented. On that one run that Hunter had, he hit 21 miles an hour, and he got caught from behind by two of their kids. So they had some talent over there. And like I said, I thought those kids played really hard and went in at halftime ready to go. They thought they had this thing won. Bad news is, that first half, we get 5 shots inside the 3, we don't get in. There's no conspiracy to try to get Hunter a touchdown, trust me. Ask AP. AP probably the leading rusher in the history of Delaware football if I didn't pull him when we had leads. It was more that it was the first snap that he was in terms of that series. And, he ran really hard. It had nothing to do with him. It was more of a couple of misassignments and a little bit high on our pad level. And then we put Duck in, and we had a package where any of the 3 of them can carry the ball. The quarterback, Hunter, or Duck. It just so happened, it was Hunter. Again, there was no conspiracy to try getting him a touchdown. That had nothing to do with anything. You get shut down there, and then you give up, a 98-yard touchdown drive in a minute 30. And so you go into halftime with a 14-point swing against you, and 2 devastating situations. You don't get in when you have the ball on the 3-yard line and 5 shots. And then they scored a 98-yard drive. And the great thing was our kids didn't panic at all. In fact, in the locker room, I said, okay, just before we went out, I said, okay, take a deep breath. We're all going to be okay. Let's just go out and fight in the second half. Let's play better the second half. Disappointed with, scramble. Quarterback was scrambling around. We just did a poor job in the back end with, scramble rules. Disappointed that, too many times we flew by the quarterback instead of, staying at his level and making sure that we're, containing that pocket. Just some real, just fundamentals that we talked about. But again, for us to come back after what happened at the end of the half and, find a way to win, I thought was really impressive. But moving on. Kids all know that the next one makes them bowl eligible. That's something we talked about from the first day I got here about, what our goals were. And, getting into a bowl and then go winning a bowl was, a big deal. East Carolina's really good. You look at their losses, North Carolina State, BYU, and I think it was Tulane, in fairly close fashion. The BYU one was the only one that got away from them. Tempo team, very accurate quarterback, really good wide receivers, like their offensive line, complete team. They play really physical defense. So, as I told our kids, I said, they're every bit as good as us. And that's how we have to kind of look at things. We feel that we're every bit as good as them, and they're every bit as good as us. Really liked what I saw out on the field today. Again, I always say every obstacle is an opportunity, and from that Navy game on, the defense keeps on trying to find more ways to challenge themselves in terms of, playing fast, playing clean, playing hard, and I walked off the field really impressed with what we did in a Monday practice. So, excited to get a really good East Carolina team here back at home. It'd be nice to get back in the link, and it should be a really good football game. Questions?
Yeah, Coach, you talked a little bit about that end of the first half that stopped the goal.
Yeah.
The offense in the red zone was a little spotty on those short downs. Is that something that you've been focusing on this week?
Yeah, and I think, when you talk to Tyler just felt that maybe he wasn't as aggressive as he normally is. We got, I don't say a little conservative, we tried to bang the ball up inside. And they're physical now. They're physical. We were a little disappointed that we had a couple misassignments in there, that we mis-ID'd a couple things. And so, kind of put ourselves in harm's way. But that, that definitely was a point of emphasis on the field today, watching them in short yardage, doing some things. So, yeah, when you get 5 shots inside the 3, and, we had the ball at the 6-inch line, that last shot. I'm not going to kick a field goal there. We have to find a way to get that in. That's what I told him, I said, you want to win, you got to find a way to make that play. We didn't make that play. We still found a way to win, which I think was pretty impressive. And when you go into a half with those 2 things, where your offense and your defense is both like decimated. Those are just, game-changing moments. And to see us bounce back like that, I thought that was really impressive. I thought the kids did a great job in the locker room, keeping their composure. And again, not a lot of hollering, just a little bit, but it was more like, it's all going to be okay. Let's just go and play the second half. And again, we did enough good things to beat what I think is a good football team.
How are you doing health-wise coming out of Saturday?
Yeah,
you guys have been living today.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a mash unit. And we're kind of going through that stretch where, a lot of physical games in a row. I was more encouraged when I saw practice today in terms of what I heard on Sunday from the medical report. More guys participated than I thought. And we run them pretty good on either Sunday or Monday. It's their choice. So we make Sunday or off day. But if they want to run Sunday, they can run Sunday. If not, then we run them Monday. And kids really worked hard at it and got a really good run and lifted. So yeah, it's that time of year where I don't say you're limping along, but it's all hands on deck. You definitely need to have more. There's a bunch of guys on special teams that I think we were all a little surprised that got out there and played on special teams, actually played pretty well. So a lot of young guys are getting opportunities right now. And again, by game time, I think we'll be okay.
How's the injury look? I guess he was limited to, based off what we saw Saturday to now.
Yeah, he looked like, after the game, I didn't think it was possible he was going to play. When we got home on the plane, looked a little bit better, and he was out there today running around. So he's in a gray jersey, but he progressed a lot more than I thought he was going to progress.
Hey, so when you go back and kind of look at, I know you say you kind of broke some scramble rules with the fairways on Saturday. We go ahead and look at the film. What did you see from the secondary? I know he got fairways in that.
Yeah.
Played well in that first half. What did you see on tape in the secondary?
Well, the first thing, I grabbed both our starting corners. I said, listen, can you put 100 pounds on by tomorrow? They kind of looked at me like, I'm crazy. No, you can't. I said, so you're never going to play that position inside that people from the stands can't tell what's going on. You play out there in front of God and the world. And when they make a play, you just got to flush it, move on to the next play. You can't worry about it. Every corner's gotten beaten. So, just wanted to let them know, that's just the lot in life they've chosen. They're not 6'4", 290 pounders we can put you inside. You're corners, and that's the world you live in. The other thing is, we have to do better with our scramble rules, but we also can't give the quarterback that much time. Too many times in my film evaluation, we were flying by instead of getting at the quarterback's heels and trying to squeeze it down. Flying by does you nothing except gives the quarterback more time to throw the football and a lot more room. So there's some things that we have to get squared away with our pass rush discipline. And I thought their quarterback did a really good job athletically moving around. He had a coming out party. It really was. He played really well, threw some great balls. But part of the back end issue was the fact that we gave him a lot of time when he was scrambling around.
Is this maybe this week? It seems like a more traditional drop back quarterback.
More traditional drop back. Going to play with tempo. Like their running game. They're a pretty complete team. Defense very physical. So, yeah, when you look at the best teams in this league, you're thinking, the South Floridas. You're thinking the Memphises. Obviously Navy's having a great year. Tulane. You're thinking East Carolina. That's where they've gotten back to. And so, if we want to think that we're in the upper echelon of this league, that's what we want to be, then that's who you have to beat those guys and get them at your place. So I think that's the mentality we have. We know they're a really good opponent, but at the same time, we have to have a lot of confidence that we're a good football team. And I think what you saw on Saturday was a little sloppy because of, like I said, pass rush discipline. When we broke the pocket, we didn't do a great job on our scramble rules. We didn't punch the ball in there when we had a chance, but we still found a way to win. And Demerick made a phenomenal play. We all kind of felt from the sideline that they were going to find a way to, once we saw the Wildcat, and we had stopped the Wildcat a couple times, we felt there was going to be some sort of play pass. And I thought he did a good job getting in. And Demerick, what he did was chuck the tight end, so tried to delay him coming out. And then he actually hit the ball and got right in the quarterback's face / Wildcat's face. And the ball actually came out of his hands as he's throwing it. It was such a big play. It was such a big play because the tight end has body position in the back of the end zone, and gets the ball in the air, he's probably going to catch that thing. So great play by Demerick, and those kind of wins, those on the road overtime wins, they can just build a lot of belief in a team. I think this team believes it. I think that's why we didn't panic at halftime, because we've been in some battles and we've come out okay, and I think they just hung in there, and it's great to see that we didn't have that panic. It's almost like you wanted to go through this now that it's over because you survived it, and again, I think there's a lot of belief where they're going to play to the very end.
You said last week, hey, Tulsa had a couple extra days, no big deal.
Yeah.
ECU did have the off week.
Yeah, I think they have 16 days.
Yeah.
Between, because I think they played like on a Thursday, and then they have, and I've had those, and I hated those. It's like you're looking for things to do. You're off for half a month, and so I always felt like half a bye is like the perfect time, because sometimes having just a full week, it kind of gets you. I don't say it gets you stale, but it's a little bit longer than you need. I love having like that Wednesday or Thursday game, and then you play the next week, so you have like an extra 3 days or so. They've been off 16 days, so it'll be interesting to see if they come out fresh or they come out a little bit, they haven't played, because to me the season is about getting into a rhythm, and I think sometimes it's really hard to get into a rhythm when you got 16 days off.
What specifically, I know you talked about their physicality, but ECU on defense, what specifically are they doing that's working for them?
I think the D-line's really good. I think that's the whole key to this thing is the guys up front. They're talented in the back end, and they have good linebackers, but if you look at anything, it's that defensive line. They're just really physical up front. So it's going to be a real test for our offensive line. Getting back Eric is going to be a big deal. Getting back Sekou, because that pass rush ability is going to be a big deal, and both those guys look really good today. So, Eric was available, but not practicing all week. We didn't think it was the best thing. Now he'll get a full week of practice, and he's a physical offensive lineman. He's playing really well too. And Sekou, he's that pass rush guy that we've probably been missing off the edge. He's just so athletic, and then we can bump him inside also because he's just so big. So, getting him back will be a big deal too. Again, we need someone to go rush that passer, and he's one of those guys who can do that.
So he's finally like legitimate.
He went from a shoulder to an oblique, and the oblique is with a big guy. Sometimes it just takes a little time. And again, he traveled with us. He was doing like warm-ups like during the week, but not really practicing. He's ready to go this week.
You're one game away from bowl ownership.
Yep.
With 4 tough teams coming up. What's the attitude?
Yeah, no, I think it's just about the game right in front of you, but also knowing that win makes you bowl eligible. And if it wasn't something that we talked about in my very first meeting, we might just like kind of move on from it. But in my very first meeting, that's what we talked about. It's like, I don't want you being realistic. This team hasn't won more than 3 games in 5 years now. I want to go to a bowl. I want to do it right now. Like not 2 years or 3 years from now. I want to do it now. I want to go win a bowl. And so I think since we made it so public, or amongst us in that room, we've all talked about it. And I think we're not going to hide from it. We know that this is a bowl eligible game. And the guys, when I mentioned that this morning in the team meeting, you could see like they were already ahead of me, and you could see that there is this energy that this is an opportunity to get to a bowl, and it'd be a big deal for this program to be back to being bowl eligible.
And, given that, how important is it the turnout on Saturday?
Yeah, absolutely. The last time we played in that stadium, we had Navy, and it was homecoming, and it was amazing. The enthusiasm, it was just, off the charts. It was awesome. It was incredible. Now we're asking our fans to come back. You see the product. The kids are going to play hard, and we have some good players. We have some really good players. I mean, I have a quarterback that's, I don't know what his QB rating is, but he's playing really well. And a lot of guys around him are playing well too. And again, defensively, we have our spots where we play dominant defense. The problem is we've given up too many explosives. And we have to find a way to get rid of those explosives. So, getting the fans out will be a big deal because we feed off that energy. And, again, hopefully they like the product and they see that, they should come out and support us.
Did you even look back, the week before that, there was sort of that flat first half against UTSA,
Yep.
which was, that was probably the smallest crowd. It was a late arriving crowd, didn't it?
Yeah, I don't know if it had anything to do with the crowd or it just was like, I think I've been preaching so much about preparation and being ready and we just kind of sleptwalk our way through the first half. I mean, I literally saw guys walking on and off the field. And again, every obstacle is an opportunity. And the way I addressed them at halftime was much different than the way I addressed them this week at halftime. You have to kind of know your audience. They needed to hear from me in a very direct way at that half. This half was more like, okay, we just went through some rough stuff now. Let's take a deep breath. We're all going to be fine. Let's go fight these guys the second half. And, we did. So, I don't think it had anything to do with crowd or anything like that, because I know it was a late coming in crowd. But I think it had more to do with we just didn't go out and play with the same intensity that we needed to. And I think a little bit of that is coming off 2 straight losses against Power 4 teams that you wanted to be closer than they were, and they weren't. And so I think that can, scheduling is so important. Ask Tulsa. I think if Tulsa had a little bit different schedule, they'd probably be sitting where they're talking about battling for stuff that last half of the season. And now, especially since they found their quarterback. I think coming off those 2, Power 4s was tough to, I think confidence-wise, I think our guys lost some confidence. And again, we got them squared away the second half, and we haven't really looked back since. The practices have gotten just better and better and better and better. And it's so interesting because, I had one of the single digits on defense come up to me today and go, hey, we're going to institute some punishment if we let the guys in the paint in the end zone. And I'm like, well, okay, we have spiders on, but I'm fine. We can do that. And I mean, it was pretty intense out there. And so, again, I think ever since that Navy game where they felt they coughed it up on defense, I think they've taken on responsibility that they want to play better than what they did that last drive. And all I can ask for these guys is keep on trying to get better. And again, when we gave up that big drive at the end of the half, wasn't the end of the world. We were second half, let's go play that second half. And that's just the maturity. That's, you go through things in the season. I think that's the art form of being a head coach, is to seize moments during a season, and you never can tell where those moments are going to come from. But the key is to seize those moments when they happen, and then that's how you develop a culture. And I think there's a couple things that have happened to us during the course of this year that we've been able to build on, and I think we're getting stronger as a team.
Can you talk about the Peter Clark that you thought you had when you got there in the spring, and
Yep.
the Peter Clark that you have now?
Boy, he's playing really well. He's playing really well. So you see a big man that runs okay. You wish you put maybe a little bit better blocker when we got him. But then what you realize is he just catches every ball. And a lot of contested stuff. And no moment's too big for him. I mean, he just goes and plays. And he's getting better and better as a blocker. And he's like a fabric, of Temple sort of guy. Like, he loves this place. I mean, he does so many community service things, and he's just so engaged with Philadelphia. Way beyond what our expectations were. I think we thought Ryder was going to make a bigger push at that position. And Ryder's played well. Unfortunately, he's got just dinged up a little bit. He'll be back probably 100% this week. But Peter has just taken his game to a different level. And so I think the offense has done a good job of crafting some things before him, I think he's made those plays. I mean, I remember UMass, and at the time, Tyler was in the box. The ball comes out of Evan's hands, and I hear some expletives, and all of a sudden there's touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. Because he made a grab that, you know, you had to be 6'6" with long arms to make that grab, and he used every inch of his body to make that grab. And since then, I think he's gotten more confidence and more confidence and more confidence, and he's playing at a really high level right now. And that really complements our offense. When you have a guy like JoJo, and you have Colin, and then K-Way's playing great, and then you have a running back room that you can play. You know, Joquez right now is the odd man out because, you know, he had hurt his ankle 3 weeks ago, kind of got behind a little bit. But he's a guy that we felt really good about too. So we got 4 running backs in that room that you feel that can go out and play on a Saturday afternoon, you know, in the lane.
Has Peter kind of responded in the same way Evan has? Like, you talked about Ryder, you brought in Jake. There's competition in every position, but did he kind of have a similar attitude? He was like, all right.
Oh yeah, no, he knew, like after spring ball, he was getting pushed by Ryder. He knew he was. And we made it very clear. And he just kept on. Very similar to Evan. Didn't complain about it, just went out and worked at it. And then when given the opportunities, and that's the great thing about this game. It's like, you can talk all you want. When the opportunity happens, are you taking advantage of it? And he's definitely taking advantage of his opportunities.
What is Kajaya's continued development in that career offense? He just gets better and better every game at 3 more touchdowns. What's it meant for you, for your offense from that wide receiver?
Yeah, I mean, he's all of 6'4", probably about 220, runs really well. He's a former 5-star. And what he's learned is he's learned how to use his body. You know, I think they've done a really good job of finding routes that are really, you know, good for him. And he's also learning to run those outs and those slants and those kind of things. So it's not all back shoulder fade stuff. I mean, he's becoming a complete wide receiver. So yeah, I mean, I think when you put, you know, him on one side and you got, you know, JoJo and Colin and you have Peter and you have the, you know, Duck and you have Evan, we'll match up with most of the people in this league in terms of, you know, putting those guys out there. Offensive line keeps on getting better and better. So all of a sudden, you know, it's a pretty complete offense, which I don't think people thought we would have, you know, going into the season.
Good.
All right.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys.